to me, the post-production is like kind of equally important as the photography, and I kind of feel like I need to do it myself because it's part of the vision. And sometimes I also see when I start putting it together, I have an idea of how I want it to come together. But sometimes I maybe have photographed something a little bit differently, and I just try to put it in there, and then I see that it even works better. So I think the post-production is not just doing, it's also like partly a little bit creative as well, because you notice things that will work better together as well. I guess like someone could help me with like cutting out things because it's not the most fun always, but I feel it almost like meditating in a way, and the post-production it's something I have to do somehow. It's just to make sure that it becomes I don't know, like it's the perfectionist in me as well, and I don't know, being perfectionist is not always a good thing. Maybe it makes you also let things take a little bit too much time sometimes, but I guess it's rewarding when you finish something at least.
Yeah. And in terms of your Photoshop skills, are you self-taught? Like how did you learn to do what you do with your post-production?
Yeah, I am self-taught in the way that I have learned the tools by trying basically, and maybe it's not the fastest way of learning. It includes a lot of failing, but you kind of learn the tools. You really learn the limitation of the tools, and I mean, I would say the biggest misconception with my work is like, oh, this is created in Photoshop, but it's really about planning. I mean, the image doesn't become better than the material I have to work with, and the material is the photographs, and that doesn't become better than how I planned it. So like in the end, it really comes down to the planning. I guess like, I mean, the tools I use in Photoshop are not necessarily that complicated. It's pretty much just putting a puzzle together. Like I just have to find the pieces that I have photographed. And then it's just like a lot of layer masks, adjustment layers, such as curve layers to adjust the colors and the contrast, just to make it all match. And then it's basically like just sitting through all these like little masks and like, you know, fine tuning and like smudge tool, like pushing it. And so I wouldn't say that nothing like revolutionary has happened in Photoshop lately that is like an amazing tool for me. It's more like it's really about the basic stuff, but doing it like really well, I guess, somehow.
Okay. A related question, actually, a question from Lucas. Well, they're asking what is the average finished image, the file size of a finished image, and how many layers do you normally sort of typically end up with for one of your images?
The files, so the file size from the Hasselblad camera is roughly a little bit above 10,000 pixels on the wide end or the long end, and I usually like, what I do is like I start with a canvas that is like slightly larger than that. So like I usually 12,000 times 9,000 pixels. That's usually my canvas if I work on a like 3x4 format. And because since I shoot a lot of different parts, I can kind of like put it there and here and there kind of. And so that's usually my final resolution as well, 12,000 by 9,000, and that's usually not like, that's more than you need usually. Like a lot of, even the prints behind me here are a little bit lower resolution, and they still were perfectly fine to print in this size as well. And the amount of layers is roughly, I would say, anything from 100 to a few hundred layers. And I always work in 16-bit color depth. That does make the files more heavy, but I've noticed, I mean, you have so much more. When you use a lot of adjustment layers, like it's easy that the colors and the fine gradients break up. So I always really, even though it's heavy, I try to work in 16-bit colors.
Yeah.
And it can almost be like another hour of just post talk, but I would maybe we stop there.
So you must have obviously lots of external storage, and because the file sizes must be what, several gigabytes, is that right? Or
yeah, luckily I'm not doing filming that much, because I guess that eats even more hard drives. But yeah, I mean, I do have like I have a Dropbox folder for all of my current projects in case the computer would crash or something. So I have it in the cloud, and then I also have external storage like a NAS in the studio, and then I have external backup in my home as well. So like in case there's a fire or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not too much, but it's a couple of terabytes of data every year, I guess, that I produce. Since I do a lot of the time is planning, so I'm not like shooting every day. It's like I'm shooting once in a while, so it's not like that incredible amount of data in the end.